Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew, and welcome to Academia School Simulator. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'm having a fantastic day, and I am wanting to get into this game. I've played it quite a bit over the past couple of months, seeing as how I've also been pretty inactive on YouTube and all. I kind of want to go ahead and try my hand at getting a hardcore game going. Now, for those who don't know how to play this game, it's pretty simple. I will explain it as we go, but if you are familiar with the game, go ahead and skip to the time code that is linked in the description, or go ahead and use the chapters feature that you can see and skip to the next chapter point. I don't know what time that will be, but anyway, you will see that down below in the description, or you can see that in the chapters view on the screen now. So let's go ahead and get started by actually getting set up first. Okay, so in our start screen here, I have a few things. Now, frankly speaking, I stated that I want to go on hardcore, and that's exactly what I plan to do. We're going to have a co-ed school. Money situation is 10,000. That's predetermined based off of the difficulty. The durability of objects are very fragile, meaning that we're going to be having a lot of objects that will be breaking easily. The best way to go and handle this is to make sure that you have at least 4 workers that are able to go ahead and help you out with this at any one time. With this said, you do already have 5 workers from the get-go when you start the game, so you don't need to worry about that too much. However, I do want to mention something about the money. The money says 10,000. However, there will be an additional 3,000 that is calculated into what you start with at the beginning of the game. I have no clue why this is the case, and I am about to send an email to the devs going like, hey, is this intentional? Because I don't think it is. Regardless, though, we got that sorted out. Goons, we are going to be getting them regardless. It's going to be relentless. We're not going to really have much to worry about, but every so often we will have goons on the property. They won't necessarily cause any issues, but they will be considered a bad influence on the students. So you want to go and try to avoid having those the goons around you, pretty much. The way you can tell if they're goons is that they will have a bandana on that's either red, green, blue, or yellow. Now, student settings. Student settings are predetermined based off of the difficulty as well. Devilish for delinquency, meaning that children, there's going to be a higher level of delinquents that are at your school. Plus, they are going to become students that aren't delinquent previously will become delinquents quicker. They won't necessarily stay delinquent, but they will become a delinquent quicker. The best way to go and combat this is make sure that you have disciplinary action sorted out, which is pretty much having a hall monitor and also having counselors. Counselors help you out a ton in this game. I will explain how to handle all of that later on. Health, feeble. Students are much more capable of receiving illnesses. So if you have a student that is sick, there is going to be a higher chance for that student to spread the sickness to someone else. So there is going to be a need for us to, at some point in time, to get a clinic made, or at least built for that matter. The best way I've learned to deal with this is to wait until you see your first sick student. Don't wait until any time earlier, because frankly speaking, your health, the healthy students will go ahead and be able to combat off the sickness for a time. So it's best to go and handle the clinic once when you see your first sick student. The best way you can tell that is by taking a look at the student drop-down, which I will show you guys that here when we get in game. Littering. Littering is very annoying in this game. I gotta say, I've played through so many hardcore games that it's not even funny anymore. Filthy is what it's describing it as. It's extremely filthy. If you were to go inside of the school, you would think that it was turned upside down and flipped over to Timbuktu and back. I kid you not, it's a mess. It will get messy. So to go and combat this, have janitors. Lots of janitors. Income, destitute, meaning that there is very little income coming in for the student tuition. I think that if I do a full 60 student capacity school, there's only going to be like $4,000 to $4,500 coming in per day. Okay. Mind you, the total costs that are calculated are kind of shortened down. The game operates on a 9-day scale, similar to like a 9-month school year. So 1 day in the game equals 1 month in the school year. So obviously, having that limited income really does hit you hard. So you want to be paying attention to that as well. And having the need to go and have counselors, a clinic, janitors, hall monitors, it's going to stack up extremely. So you want to be very frugal with how you spend your money in hardcore mode. Learning difficulty is challenged, so students will have a harder time not only accepting knowledge or learning for that matter to begin with, but they will also have a hard time retaining it. So there may be a chance to that student will go ahead and forget, or they won't even learn at all when a teacher is teaching them. There is a chance of that. I have seen that, and frankly, it sucks. And I've had a couple game overs because so many student dropouts, which has happened quite a bit. Game over triggers. There are 3 total game over triggers that I'm having enabled because, frankly, you need to have at least 1 enabled. You can have 1, 2, or 3, but I prefer having all 3 so that way I can challenge myself more. And I advise you guys to do the same. Now, one thing that we are going to go and take a look at here is the logo options here. I like to have my logo being something a little bit simple. ALD Academy. Why ALD? Well, simply said, for those who know me personally, ALD is kind of like the abbreviation of what it is on Twitter. Those who actually want to know what my abbreviation is on Twitter, ALD stands for Andrew Leo Demarest. Demarest being my last name. With that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look here. Okay, so essentially speaking, when you go and start your school off for the first time, you will need to have a school motto. This is just something you need to have because, frankly, the game really doesn't care if it's a motto or that makes sense or not. However, this is the Italian translation of what essentially means the heart of all strength is knowledge, meaning that you have to go ahead and be able to learn how to do stuff before you can actually prove it yourself. At least that's the basic premise that I hold dear with it. So I'm just going to change this up a little bit and customize our logo here. Yeah, so this is going to be our symbol pretty much. So it kind of seems counterintuitive, but it's supposed to be the dragon is the first icon, lion is the second, third is the turtle, fourth is the raven. So the way I have this is that I kind of imagine it where the dragon is supposed to be like representing the students that are in the senior class. Senior classes are the ones that are just about to go to college and get out of high school. So they should be strong and powerful with their mind and everything that they should go and know in order to go and excel. Lions are one step below that, meaning that they have the courage, the loyalty, and all that, but they are strong-minded, to say the least. Ravens, typically when you think of a raven, you think of something passing away. However, when I see a raven, I see something along the lines of giving hope to the new. And that's exactly what a raven can symbolize in this case. Turtles, on the other hand, that's just primarily speaking that the sophomores, which is what it's referring to, or at least that this is going on inside my head, so you can call me crazy if you want to. But the turtles kind of imagine to me that the sophomores are kind of bottled up inside and they don't know how to go and show their true abilities, whether it be by their knowledge, by their strength, or even by their emotions. And that's what I kind of think of when I think of a sophomore. They kind of bottle up everything until they reach junior year, and then they don't really worry about it too much because they're like, oh, okay, I'm so much closer to getting out of this school. Let me go in and get this rolling. Okay, so that customizes our logo. Next, let's move over to the right-hand side of the screen where we focus on the uniform, school pet, and principal. Very easy stuff. I'm going to change it over so that way we have the casual school uniform setting. There's not going to be a requirement for anyone specifically. You could have this set for any sort of setting you want. Original, Japanese, United Kingdom, prisoner, military, Malaysia, China, Philippines, or Russia. But I'm just going to stick with casual, frankly, because it's my opinion what I'm most familiar with. There's not too many schools here in the United States that have a uniformed based dress code. As far as to wear around the entire school. There is some schools that will go and have a uniform code when you go to PE and so on and so forth, but not in the sense where they will require a uniform to be worn all throughout the school. Don't get me wrong, though. There are schools inside the United States that do have uniform policies where a student must wear a full-on uniform. However, that's not too common. That's primarily with private schools. And this, of course, isn't going to be a private school. School pet, I'm just going to go with the Husky. And the principal that I'm going to choose is D. Hauser. Hauser, as you can see, you can read the description all you want, but I'm just going to focus on the advantages and disadvantages. Organic food, that's not too bad of a disadvantage. It's going to cost me double to go and get a food crate. That's perfectly fine. We get a food crate delivery once a day in the game, once when we go and build a kitchen and a cafeteria. We'll get that once a day, so we don't need to worry about it too much. So there we go. At least it increases to once a day, once when we build a refrigerator. The advantages being that we have cheaper janitors and nurses. So this is going to be extremely useful for having to deal with the health and littering aspect of this difficulty. Okay. I am going to change the flag type because obviously I want to change it to United States because that's just who I am based on where I live. And we can go and get into the game now. Okay, so here we are in the game. Now, first off, I want to mention that we are not starting things off right away. We first have to start the process of building the said school before we can do anything else. So one thing I want to mention, $13,000 is what we have set up right now. Currently, it's showing me that I have apparently like $9,000 that was spent. Principal's office advance. That's what the income was for. So when you go into your to-do list here, you can see what needs to be taken care of. Your principal's office, which is a grant that is currently accepted. And then the other task is one refrigerator required to increase food delivery. We aren't going to worry about that anytime soon. If we take a look at the grants here, it says every school needs a principal to lead the way. Build an office and hire your principal. Open the zone menu, click the admin tab, and create a new office zone. Click on build to build the walls and floors, and then click on objects to lay down the objects in the office. Pretty easy and self-explanatory. However, I'm not going to do it based off of that alone. Now, this first episode is going to be kind of just me planning out how our school is going to work. I don't want to start it off right away as I kind of have an idea of what I want this school to work as. There is a few different things I want to keep in mind with this school. I have a couple challenges that I have going on in the back of my head that I want to aim to complete with this school. So the first challenge is that, one, I want to be able to have all of the classrooms have some sort of access to the outside, as far as like that being through the use of windows or through the use of a additional door going into the outside, not going into the hallway. As long as it meets one of those two criterias, I am perfectly fine with that type of room. I need to make sure that it has some type of outdoor access, meaning that we can't do something along the lines where we have like the actual hallway where our actual classrooms are going to go. And I'm just doing this as an example. Let's say we have the classrooms like so. We have like two different ones here. And then my goal is to not force myself to build off of this side or this side of the classrooms. If I build off of this side here, and then I go ahead and box it off like that, one, that's not going to provide any sort of like natural outlet, meaning that it doesn't have any outside access. Hopefully that does make sense. If you guys find that confusing, let me know in the comments. So with that in mind, I know where the midpoint is. The midpoint is right here, right where my red strip is going right there. But I'm going to kind of put the midpoint off a little bit. So that's where the midpoint is. I want to shift it over to where I have, let's see, I want to do this, and then we want to do that. Now I want to check here. That's 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so I counted that up to be 20 because one of the grants that we will be getting after we complete the principal's office is that we'll be getting a grant that says place down concrete tiles. And I'm just going to primarily put that out front here because this is going to be our main entryway into the actual school. Okay. Now, something I should go and clarify, if you guys are thinking that academia is where you can build any type of school, you're poorly mistaken. Academia is based off of the idea where you can build and manage your own high school, or otherwise known as secondary school. I know that people in the UK say secondary school instead of high school, and people in the US, of course, says high school instead of secondary school. If I am correct on that, for people that are watching from the UK, let me know in the comments, so that way I can remind myself for the next video. Now, as far as design is concerned, I kind of want to start off by getting the admin section of the school started first. Now, when we are handling the game, first off, keep in mind that when you start the game, the students are going to be coming from this side of the school, at least during the first day. After the first day, they can come from either side on the road. But the administrative staff, such as in the principal, the accountant that we'll need to get, the counselor, everyone else will come in from the left side here, not from the right. So I want to have the administrative side of the school be on the left side, so that way it's closer to when the actual staff come in the early morning. I know that seems a little bit counterintuitive, but that's kind of the idea that I want to go with here. So I'm going to just extend this by a couple units. I think going to right there is fine. And I'm just going to extend that over. Now, first of all, let's see here. We want to have that be a 5x4 room. The 5x4 room here is going to be an office. This is going to be one of the few offices that we're going to need to have at the start. So when you first start off, I'd recommend having your accountant and your principal already hired. You don't need to have your counselor at the beginning, but you do want to make sure that you have space for them when you unlock the ability to hire them. So this is going to be the basic setup as far as what we got going on. Principal's office, accountant's office, counselor's office. Now there's one office space that I'm going to leave open for now. That can be used for the vice principal, an additional counselor, or it can be used for a lawyer. Lawyers are a little bit helpful, however, they are a bit pricey. So I shy away from them during the early game. Now, on the opposite side here, this is where I want to start building my classrooms. Classrooms, I like to build at an 8x5. So this right here, as you can kind of tell, is 8x5. The actual student chairs, you need to have minimum of 15, because when we go take a look at the admissions tab here, 15 of interested students of each year level, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. We can press the green plus icon here, and that will go ahead and automatically say, hey, all of the interested students, come on into the incoming field. Perfect, right? Now, we need to make sure that we have a total of 15 chairs in each one of these year levels. meaning that for each classroom we need to have 15 chairs in them. And this is what I was talking about when I was explaining the getup in terms of like the amount of money that we get when we are playing the game. Only like $4,000, just a little over. So it doesn't really provide us much hopes in terms of making a profit. So I highly advise you to be very cautious with your spending. Extremely cautious, mind you. So I'm going to place the door right there. And we are going to have, we can actually have this a bit smaller. So the smallest size you can have is this size right here, which I believe is a 6x5. It's not recommended by any means, but it works. It does work. So we'll go ahead and start off with that for the get-go. Mostly because it actually is going to be the best option for us to go and maximize the space and efficiency of the actual height of the actual school, that is. Across the way, we are going to have identical classrooms. Now, on the administrative side of the school, I think that's where I'm also going to build up like the clinic and a couple other different services that we will need at some point in time. So keep that in mind when we go ahead and look into that later on down the lines. So let's go ahead and just continue along here. And with that said, let's go ahead and start clearing things out. Pretty simple in terms of clearing things out, though, because frankly, I'll give them time to work on that while I continue to plan things out. So over here on this side, I think we want to have the sort of clinic area. So the clinic really doesn't need to be big. And in fact, we can actually put the clinic right next to where we need to have the bathrooms at. At some point, we do need to have a set of bathrooms. What are you thinking? Are we just going to go ahead and just not have bathrooms? That would be kind of disgusting, to be honest. So I go ahead and think of it like this. 3 different size rooms, 4x5 each. 1 bathroom for male, 1 bathroom for female, and 1 clinic. That's what I'd say you would need at the start. I'm also going to tell my staff to go and demolish that and demolish that. We don't need it. Okay, so that's what we got going on. And that's essentially what we are going to build. So let's go ahead and use this. So when I build, I typically like to start off with the walls. Walls are going to be one of the most expensive parts because you're going to be building a lot of them. Trust me. So I think, I don't necessarily start off with this, but I think I'm going to go with a beige wall. Just because of the fact that it's a different material, I don't use beige too often. I typically go between black walls, concrete walls, and brick walls. I stick away from stone walls as the texture really is unpleasing for me, or displeasing. And I tried sticking away from the wooden and tile walls, mostly because they look a little bit tacky. And then yellow walls, you can kind of guess why. But beige walls, I don't mind the idea of. So I am just going to go ahead and quickly, just going to actually build up the principal's office first. Because that's the office that we do need to work on first. Go ahead and get the actual admin table worked on. And go ahead and scroll down to the office selection here. I know I'm not really explaining what it is that I'm doing too well, but we are kind of wrapping up on a little bit of time here. I want to try and get this sorted out as quickly as I possibly can. Okay, now zoning, admin, do that, and staff, principal. There we go. And that's going to complete the grant. There we go. Now we got a couple of things we can do. Admissions, we pretty much already did because we already accepted students from all the year levels. It even says add at least 1 student to incoming year. I don't know why it's like missing that last bit, but it's supposed to say add 1 student to incoming incoming as in like this field. That makes sense. Do that. That will complete it automatically. Paved floors. We can place 20 concrete tiles. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. simply said, do, and boom. To accept a grant first before they start working on it, and there we go. Once when they complete that, then we'll go ahead and do basic education. Basic education, build the classrooms. Simply said and done. We are going to, not floors, I'm not looking at that. Beige walls, boom, boom, and boom. This is fairly self-explanatory once as far as what I'm doing right here. All I'm really focusing on is making sure that we have the rooms made. Not necessarily like having flooring down, because flooring isn't required by any means necessary. However, in order to go and have a better overall evaluation at the end of the year, you need to have flooring. Mostly because of the fact that it impacts walking and it does impact happiness. So we do need to go and focus on that, because it also will go and impact the evaluation at the end of the year, guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts there. So the game is going to work on that while I go back into the objects screen here and head over to classrooms. We are going to get chalkboards. We need to get one in each classroom. We need to get one teacher's table in each classroom. And then we need to get 15 student chairs, which you can just click and drag like this, and it will go and place down the queue for all of those. And that will complete the classrooms. Now all we need to do is just complete the zoning. This one will be freshman. This one will be sophomore. This one will be junior. And this one will be senior. Okay, so junior and senior's classroom is already done, so that's good. Sophomore classroom is done now. And the freshman classroom is now done as well. That completes the basic education. So essentially speaking, now we have everything that we need to start the school. In fact, we might want to do that, but I'm going to be stopping. I'm not going to do that because we still need to hire the teachers. The teachers are going to be one of the most expensive part. Let's go and do that right now, because frankly, selecting the teachers for the different grade levels is going to be a pain, because there is going to be limitations that we will have, such as in how much money we can spend on each teacher and how expensive each teacher is. Now, because of our principal, there isn't like a increase to how expensive a teacher is. However, if you were playing with one of the other principals that are available in the game, such as in I think the goon-based one, where you have a higher chance for delinquents and you have a higher salary cost with teachers. It's really expensive to be handling that at that point. So, first off, here is the hiring screen with the teachers. Took me long enough to go and get back to that point. But here's the hiring screen with teachers. You can see it's a couple different symbols that are attached to them. Now, first off, I want to mention that the symbol that is to the right hand of the actual teachers, that's explaining what their trait is. Right here, you can see that this teacher, Mr. David King, has a bachelor's degree, which is the 1 gold, like medal type thing, okay? And he has the trait of being very mellow. Very mellow, if I recall correctly. It doesn't actually show me. Should go and tell me what very mellow means. If I recall correctly, very mellow means that you have a there's lower discipline, meaning that the students aren't going to be disciplined as much. So I kind of shy away from being going towards the very base traits, because there's very mellow. There's this guy Jacob, who has very funny. Very funny is a really good trait to have. Very mellow is a good trait to have, but not in this instance where we can't really take care of it. Try to avoid having teachers that have master's degrees, which is the 2 golds. They are very expensive. $7,000 for the signing and $707 per day. We don't want that. We want to avoid teachers that are that expensive. They do have really good skills in one subject, primarily speaking, but you want to avoid that teacher. or at least those teachers, during the early game. So I'm just going to quickly go through all the teachers that we have here, and I'll get them assigned to the different departments. Okay, so I got all the teachers hired on here, and I got one per grade level. A couple of the teachers do have some traits that I am a bit hesitant on. Some of them did actually make me consider if I should hire or not. Like, for instance, Miss Taylor here, she has a 34 to art, but I didn't hire her even though she has the highest art amongst the hirees. But because of the fact I didn't hire her because she has very boring as the trait. You want to avoid teachers that have the very boring or boring traits because, frankly, boring teachers aren't going to be very effective, pretty much. Now, because we completed that, if we take a look here, we also completed the let's see here. We completed the higher teachers one. So we got the $10,000 in advance as well. So now we're up to 23,000. Now, if I recall correctly, if I let the game run here for a minute, the game should update. No, it's not, because of the fact that, one, we need to go ahead and take a look at the research tree and start researching accounting. This is where things are going to get interesting. Let's go ahead and research accounting. Now, this is our research tree. You can see that it actually is pretty big. There's a lot of stuff that we can research while playing this game. However, because of the fact that we are focusing a little bit more on the grant side, where we are kind of like headwaying inside of one direction instead of going in multiple, we're going to start off by doing Money Manager. This is to unlock the accountant. Now, because of the fact that we are going to be unlocking the accountant, we should go and get their office built. So let's go and do that. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. I'm going to get this going on. And there we go. I am also going to get the main entrance going right there. I'm not going to worry about the flooring for the rooms yet. Maybe a little bit later, but that's fine. Now, one of the other grants that I saw, which is the snack time grant, that says to place 4 vending machines. Doesn't say where, but it does say that you need to place 4 vending machines. That's an easy task for us to complete. I'm going to go ahead and go into the cafeteria screen here, or because that's one of the actual field types. And vending machines are listed as being a cafeteria object, but it is not locked by basic facilities, which allows you to build a said cafeteria. So I'm going to build 2 vending machines over at the front. So I'm going to try and do that real quick. And I also need to go and build up the rest of the office for our accountant that's going to be incoming. There we go. And that's pretty much all we need for that. No Man's Island, we're not going to worry about that. Cleanliness is next to Goodliness. This one is really useful for getting the janitors right from the get-go. You kind of want to get them at the get-go, though, because it's going to get crazy if you don't. So Money Manager is almost completed. They are a little bit pricey in terms of actually buying. So I do recommend being a bit cautious on that side. So just about done. Money managers are about 25,000 to go and hire. So we're going to hire one and go into our admin field, grab our office, and there we go. That completes the accounting. Now, go ahead and complete the snack time. That's going to be an easy one. And then we're going to do Cleanliness is next to Goodliness. But I'm not going to accept the grant just yet because I'm going to go ahead and just come back in the research tree, go into school cleaning. But I'm going to go into school cleaning, but I'm going to go ahead and extend it to Health is Wealth. Actually, cancel that because I'll just do school cleaning for now. Health is Wealth I will do when, as I mentioned earlier, when we get our first sick student. That is going to happen one way or another. So we will have to keep that in mind. Now, if I recall correctly, we are going to need to get a couple other things, but we do need to wait for research to be done. Now, something I'm going to take care of right now is I'm going to go into our schedules tab here. And this is where we can go ahead and change when students are going to like recess and when students are going to lunch. Now, I am looking at this primarily because on the schedules tab, or not on schedules tab, but in the grants screen, there will be a grant listed there called schedule planning, meaning that it's going to want you to schedule your lunches for 12 and your recess for 3. Does not matter which grade level you do this with. However, I just do it with the freshman level, seeing as how that's the first screen that pops up when you're taking a look at the actual game. And I go ahead and set it up like so. This is what the game thinks you should have it set up as. However, sometimes this isn't the best outlook for that matter. So one thing that I choose to do, and this is something that not many people really get at, but I understand it quite a bit, is what I will do is I will manually force it so that way like 2 grade levels are going to lunch at the different times. So like for instance, in this case, I am setting it up so that way juniors and seniors go to lunch at a different time versus the freshmen and sophomore. Freshmen and sophomores go through their first 4 classes before going to lunch, whereas the juniors and seniors have to go through their first 3 classes before going to lunch. In my opinion, that makes sense because frankly, you don't want to have all your students going to lunch at the exact same time. My school my high school did that when I was going back there, and frankly speaking, I wasn't opposed to the idea, but at the same time, it felt as though there was too many people that were out and about, and I don't think that my school was prepared enough for that, so they didn't plan for it. But regardless, let's go ahead and get some trash cans placed. Trash cans are going to be useful, so we're just going to get them sorted out. I'm going to get a couple inside of the classrooms. I'm going to get a couple over nearby the vending machines, and that should be it. School cleaning is going to take a couple more hours, so we will worry about that. I'm going to go and take the grant now, and aside from that, I believe that's pretty much everything. Yes, that is. I will need to get toilet training, which is the unlockable. Let's see here. Toilet training. Toilet training must complete cleanliness is next to goodliness. So when we do this this one right here, we will be able to go and do the toilet training one, which we'll have to go ahead and unlock basic facilities. Basic facilities is one of the other research tabs that we got to complete. So I'm going to go on 3 times speed here. Let's see. Let's see. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. This is just the layout for the start of the game. We're not really focusing on anything else too much, but there is going to be some hiccups that we will encounter from now until like later on down the line. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go and start the school year off because we are pretty much approaching the end of the year. And before we even do anything else, guess what, ladies and gents? I'm going to pause the game there, and I'm going to call it an episode. If you guys did enjoy this episode, please do go and hit that like button, and make sure you go and subscribe to go and receive more videos like this in the future. I do have plans for having this series be at least 2 to 3 videos a week. However, that will depend on what the reception is like for this video. So if you guys do like it, definitely go and leave me a like. That way I know you guys want to see more. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one, and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever it may be for you. Ciao for now.